Joining us now, an old friend of the program, is Fred Thompson, former candidate for the presidency himself back in 2008, and Newt Gingrich supporter, and he joins us now. Hey, Senator Thompson, how are you?
Hey, Laura, I'm doing good. Doing good. Hope you are.
It was great to talk to you, and look, this is getting pretty rough down there in Florida, but so far it seems that after this last debate performance where Newt was he was kind of nicer. I joked that it was kind of the nice Newt, and we wanted the other Newt to come out. And he got a chuckle about that, but he slipped somewhat in the polls. And your take on this on the current dynamics of this race?
Laura, it's obviously close. I think that Newt's been rising. I think that yesterday or so forth, I saw something that showed a virtual tie, and but kind of Newt with a bullet, kind of in the right way. It changes so rapidly. You saw what happened in South Carolina with the poll numbers, and it's a very fluid situation. So it'll probably go down to the wire.
And let's go and look back, because in 2008 you ended up endorsing the guy who was kind of the more establishment player, which was John McCain. And now, in 2012, you're endorsing the guy who's most people think is not the establishment's favorite. Pretty much everyone in the establishment seems to be against Gingrich. So why the kind of change for you?
Because the people have changed. The candidates are different than they were then. Back then, it was essentially at the stage that where we were at that point. It was, and I don't think I endorsed until after Super Tuesday, as a matter of fact. But and it was apparent McCain was going to be the nominee, and I thought it was time we all got together. And frankly, between McCain and Romney and Huckabee, I preferred McCain. For one thing, I knew where he stood in terms of national security issues and judges, which were two of the most important things to me. You'd never have to ask John where he stood on those things, and I thought those were the most important things facing the country. Today, I think the economy, I think those issues are still out there and are very important and are somewhat overlooked in terms of national security in this debate. But I think right now, the number one issue is the economy and the fact that we are being engulfed by debt that we can never repay. We continue to go in the wrong direction, as we have the European example in front of us, and have not the will or the ability or the leadership to do anything about it. I think things are in worse shape than most people do, and I think this Fed action yesterday is another indication of that. I mean, they see no growth, they see no real improvement, in my opinion. Our creditors are going to see that. Our investors are going to see that. We need to shake things up, Laura, and we cannot blow with an uncertain trumpet, and we cannot be apologetic about our tax policies and what we think is going to grow this country, which is the only hope that we have other than devaluation, which I think is what we're on the road to, is growth, growing our way out of this thing. And, Newt, I think is that guy. I think he's the guy for the times. I think he's got the guts, the toughness, the resilience to do this. I think if you compare public records to public records, Newt, I came to Washington, D.C. in part because of what Newt was doing in terms of his political plans and the revolution in 1994. And as he's pointed out, we were able to balance the budget for 4 years and welfare reform, rebuild a military that was in disrepair. Same thing we're doing now, cutting it back at a time that we've had some modicum of success. Think we'll never need it again. Right. And so I think he's a proven leader.
Well, what is it about him that has just driven everyone from Bob Terrell from American Spectator to people like Ann Coulter and friends over at Fox and National Review, and they are just absolutely adamant that Newt Gingrich will just I guess ruin the Republican Party, get destroyed by Obama, has terrible unfavorables. and will just be the ticket to Obama's reelection. I mean, I've never seen that. People they're just in a frenzy about this.
I haven't either, Laura, and frankly, that's one of the reasons that I went ahead and endorsed. I sat back and watched it, and more. It was an egregious pile-on, and an incorrect pile-on, and practically all of the certainly the mainstream media and others. I mean, these bloggers, these news bloggers and so forth are the most one-sided that I have ever seen anything. And I think there's several things that go into that. I think Mitt is an establishment guy. I mean, his background and his record and all that, he fits comfortably with that. People have thought for a long time that he was the anointed one and was going to win. I think also that Newt has had Newt is a man of ideas, as we all know, and Newt has had a public life and a private life, and in his private life, he writes books, he has ideas, he has seminars, he makes a living, as a consultant and things of that nature. And if you go back and examine any thought that anybody had, well, a lot of guys don't have many thoughts except wanting to be elected president. But you're going to find stuff that doesn't fit. You're going to find stuff you disagree with. And when Newt does it, he does it with such articulation and persuasion that it drives you nuts if you're on the other side of the issue. And I think there's been a few of those as time goes on, and plus the fact that there were some tumultuous times back in the old House days, and victory has 1,000 fathers, and Newt's personality and everything was just fine with everybody when they were winning elections by big margins. But when the politics turned and Newt became unpopular, and we didn't win as many seats in the last election as we thought we should have, and all of that, then Newt's personality became a problem for a lot of people, and there was some acrimony. And I'm not saying that they were all wrong and Newt was all right or any of that. It's just the way things are. It's just politics, and so Newt left. Not, by the way,
disgrace.
In
that's
disgrace.
That's what Romney says. It's in disgrace. There are a lot of these former colleagues of his who recount moments of great tumult, and his personality is abrasive, and he has these grandiose ideas, and this guy is unstable. The basic notion is you never know where he's going to go. You never know what idea he's going to come up with. He'll come up with 90 interesting ideas, and one of them is workable.
Look at his record. Look at his record when he was in the Congress. Leave out the hurt feelings or whatever, when they started losing some elections they felt like they should have won. But look at his record in terms of the revolution he led. Look at the contract with America. I mean, what in there do we disagree with today? Look at the balanced budget and the tax reform and things like that happened then. I mean, I'd compare his public record with anything. In Washington, you get a tag. Your enemies label you however they want to. And then the next guy comes along and picks it up. Then the next, and the next, and the next. I know that better than most. Mm-hmm. And I watched the debate the other night, and I've watched all these debates. Newt can be tough. He can be presidential. He can be various things. But the problem with this unstable kind of thing, which is the worst thing you can say about anybody, is that the people of South Carolina, who are not known for nominating radicals, i.e. Bob Dole, John McCain, George W. Bush, decided that, up close and personal, having been outspent 2-1 down there, that was a bunch of baloney. And I've known Newt for a long time. I don't agree with him on every jot and tittle of everything he's done. He doesn't either now. But that is a bum rap. And this notion that he was run out of town under scandal, he was exonerated. He was exonerated. They had the most vicious onslaught of left-wing media publicity during that investigation. His big offense was teaching a class down in Georgia that his enemy says was a political thing and not an educational thing, and therefore he shouldn't have got that kind of treatment in the tax code. That was his vicious offense, and they went through. There's a lot of ins and outs to that. I would invite anybody to look at what Byron York put up on the Washington Examiner, WashingtonExaminer.com yesterday. The guy who was there and who's written about this, about what really happened, and he points out that the IRS and everybody else that John Bonnier and the Democrats sicked on him, exonerated him, and of course that was on page 6 of most American newspapers.
No, it all becomes a caricature, and look, both sides have done this, and there was an exchange yesterday, Fred, talking to Fred Thompson, in the Univision interview with Newt, where they're talking about Mitt's position on deportation and whether you could self-deport people or not. And this is the kind of answer, I think, that does drive some conservatives crazy, but let's listen.
What do you think about Romney's idea of self-deportation?
I think you have to live in a world of Swiss bank accounts and Cayman Island accounts and automatic, $20 million a year income with no work to have some fantasy this far from reality.
Isn't that isn't that also playing into the class warfare kind of cheap shot arena? I mean, what does a Swiss bank account have to do with the deportation?
Well, what Newt is saying, it seems to me that his Mitt is out of touch. To have a Swiss bank account as late as 2010 and running for president and think that's not an issue or something that ought to be paid attention to is just simply not understanding how people view things and how the real world operates, I guess, is the point he's making. And I think on the immigration, for a guy who withstood and stood there and listened to what Romney hysterically threw at him in this last debate, including being run out of town in disgrace and all that kind of foolishness, I think that a comment like that should not weigh too heavily on people's consciences. And on the immigration thing, I think if you want to put it this way, it seems to me, and I haven't talked to him about it, but it seems to me that Newt is a little bit more moderate with regard to people who've been in the country for 25 years and things of that nature and all that. And I think Mitt kind of saw what was happening and has kind of gotten back to where Newt is now. Mitt has been more of a hard liner. If our nominee can't get up there and basically, generally speaking, there are a lot of details to this, where basically say something that's in the ballpark of what Newt was saying, we don't have a chance of getting elected anyway.
That's what Jeb Bush, that's what basically Heath says about this, and it's got to be, the language has to be used carefully, the ideas have to be sold correctly. And I think that's just the reality of the numbers right now. And Fred Thompson, we really appreciate your joining us, and it's been a long time. You're welcome back on the show anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you.
All right.